what some area motorcyclists are doing to put a smile on the face of a very sick little girl. After 14 hours, the search is over for a missing fisherman on Saylorville Lake. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Aaron Brilbeck. Dave has the night off tonight. Well, investigators say the search began around midnight just north of the mile-long bridge and Lincoln access to Saylorville Lake. Some local teens may have been exposed to chemicals while detasseling corn. Why their bus driver is so nervous about it and why the big company that hired them isn't. A spokeswoman for the Sheriff's Department refused to turn over the dash camera video of the incident, even though she acknowledges it is public information. She says first she has to run it past the county prosecutor's office, even though she also acknowledges that there's no law or regulation requiring her to do so. In the end, she said she's not releasing the video to us because she can, by law, withhold it from the public for up to 10 days. Yeah, Aaron, investigators are still on the scene here of this fiery crash on I-80. Let me give you a show of just how serious this crash was. You can come back over this way just a little bit. This right back here behind me, this is the front of the rig. You can see the two seats that are inside there. Those are the seats the driver was driving in. Right next to it, the big smokestack. In between, you can see the engine of the truck. We're told there were 4 vehicles involved. There was this truck, another semi, there was a car, and there was a busload of people. Police tell us it's a miracle that everyone survived. Take a look at this video. This is video that was shot by one of our viewers and sent to us. It shows the vehicles as they were on fire, completely engulfed in flames. One truck driver who didn't want to go on camera tells us that he was slowing down after seeing another accident in the road. As he was slowing down, he says he hit his flashers, and that's when he was rear-ended by this truck that's back here behind me. After he was hit by that truck hit another car, then hit a bus. All of them, according to police, then went into flames.
4 of the vehicles were totally engulfed by fire. It started with the semi and just kind of cascaded to the other vehicles.
The driver of the truck that this semi hit tells me that right after he was hit, he saw it burst into flames in his rearview mirror. He says he pulled over his truck, ran over here, climbed up to the top. He broke out that window. He was able to pull out the driver, who he says was unconscious at the time. He and another motorist then dragged that man about 15 feet in that direction while this entire thing became engulfed in flames. Firefighters and police arrived a short time later. And again, investigators are on the scene right now trying to figure out exactly what happened. But police are telling us that while between 20 and 30 people went to the hospital, most of those injuries are very minor. However, we're told the driver of this truck, who still hasn't been identified, was pretty seriously injured. He had to be life flighted out of here.
Okay, Aaron Brilbeck reporting live. Just incredible that no one died there at the scene.
Earlier this week, AIB Business College announced that it would be merging with the University of Iowa. Well, today we obtained these secret meeting minutes that show much of what AIB told us and told parents just wasn't true. This is the document AIB does not want you to see. It's the minutes of the January 14th Board of Trustees meeting talking about the planned merger with the University of Iowa. And it shows a lot of what the public and students were told about the merger simply isn't true. During a Monday press conference, AIB President Nancy Williams said she first talked with U of I President Sally Mason about the merger last summer.
The idea for this merger stemmed from a casual conversation that I had with President Mason this summer.
But according to these documents, that's not true. The idea of merging AIB with another school has been in the works for years. Earlier this month, Williams reminded the board in 2010 the board wanted us to look at succession planning. Now, during the press conference, Williams assured us that the school is in good financial shape, and this gift to the University of Iowa is just the evolution of AIB.
AIB College of Business is not seeking any type of financial relief. In fact, the college is virtually debt-free.
But the meeting minutes say the college is $1.4 million in debt, and in terms of endowments, AIB is down to $4 million. By the end of August 15th, $2 million. We would have 2.5 years of cash to fund things. AIB is currently at about half of its enrollment capacity level. Still, Williams says enrollment is strong.
So our enrollment has actually been going up at a time when others potentially have been going down.
But she told the board recruiting is hard and will get harder with the funding formula. DMACC is our biggest competition, and they're more affordable, and now the president wants community college to be free. Board of Trustees member Sheila Tipton seemed confused by the proposed merger, according to the minutes, saying, "The last time we met was to have a 3-year plan to go forward and right the ship. What happened? Are financials so bad?" We've also asked Williams about student athletics. She says the school hasn't yet had that conversation.
The sports programs, we have not figured that out yet.
But that's not true either. The board discussed it at its January 14th meeting, saying athletics would be phased out right away. You'd find out quickly. 300 student athletes, not all are on the court or the field. If they want to do their sport, they could apply someplace else. That leaves student athletes
more disappointed than anything. I just want answers. I want to know why they weren't upfront with us. We're a business school, and so I'm assuming it was a business-related decision to lie to us.
Now, during the press conference, President Mason also stressed the importance of keeping students and the public up to date every step of the way during the merger.
And we share your commitment to being inclusive and transparent throughout the process. This is important for all of us, and it's certainly most important for our students.
But according to this document, the board's discussion has to remain confidential. No one talking about this outside of this room. We need to work on what the message will be early. If it gets out and we're not in control, it won't be good. And it's not good. I called the spokeswoman for AIB and she hung up on me. So I called the president of the college directly. She tells me that she's not going to comment on these meeting minutes because she says we obtained them illegally. J.D. Mitchell of Rose Hill is furious that his city council approved a resolution to put the community's only school bus stop right across the street from a Tier 3 sex offender.
Iowa's had all kinds of issues with sex offenders lately, but yet Rose Hill wants to put a bus stop right across the street from me.
The plan is to put the bus stop here, just feet away from the home of 40-year-old Joey Keene, who was convicted in 1996 of sexually abusing a child. Rose Hill's mayor says he understands why some parents could be upset by the idea of having their kids wait for the school bus right across the street from a convicted pedophile.
Oh, I can see where they would be, yeah. Mine are growed up and gone, so like I say, it's not affecting me none.
Besides, the mayor says this is no big deal.
He's not like he's did nothing major, and I really don't know what he did to put a judgment against him. You know, sometimes they get that just for dumb little things.
This woman doesn't think it's a dumb little thing. We're shielding her identity because Keene was convicted of raping her daughter.
Oh, it's hard knowing what he did. He victimized a 2-year-old little girl. I was horrified. I couldn't believe that he had done that to a little girl. And I know if he ever had a chance again, he'd do it. I know he would.
About 15 minutes after we interviewed the mayor, he came back to us and said that he misunderstood the resolution that he voted on and that it has nothing at all to do with a school bus, even though it clearly says school bus on the resolution. The mayor says that's just in case Keene ever moves away, they can put a school bus there if they want to. But again, that's not what the resolution says.
There is no logic to it. I mean, it's a simple case of not really caring. You know, you're not thinking about the kids.
Changing a windshield wiper blade isn't very difficult. All you do is pop the old blade off and pop the new blade right back in again. It only takes a few seconds to do it. That's why we were so surprised that the Des Moines Police Department paid somebody more than $100 to change out a windshield wiper blade, and that's not the only big expense we found. Maintaining a fleet of police cars isn't cheap, but check out some of the charges we found looking through last year's repair histories of each of Des Moines' 101 police cars. $541 to replace a battery and cable, and $104 to replace one wiper blade. Much of that cost? Labor. Taking an hour to replace a battery, a job that should only take a few minutes.
Well, you've got your positive and negative terminals, so you just remove the terminals, negative side first.
It took our mechanic just under 3 minutes to change this battery. It took him less than a minute to change the wiper blade. Police were charged $78.20 for that job, so we went to the police department's fleet maintenance department for answers. They're the mechanics outsourced by the city to work on Des Moines police cars. Director Brian Bennett says, in the case of the battery, mechanics just forgot to write down that they also replaced a faulty alternator.
Although presented as a battery replacement, there was certainly more work done than just a battery replacement.
But that's not reflected on the paperwork, and Bennett couldn't explain how he knew the alternator was replaced. He says he just knows it was. As for the wiper blade, Bennett admits the police department was overcharged.
Our mechanic, as I described, they work by job. They simply failed to get clocked off of that job. That is an error on that part. And obviously, it does not take $100 to replace a wiper blade.
But the bottom line on that, though, is that the police department was still billed, and therefore taxpayers were still billed based on that error.
That's correct. That's correct.
Another item that really jumped out at us, the city paid more than $25,000 to repair a police car that cost, brand new, just $22,000. Fleet Maintenance says police made that call.
All along the process, we would be informing the police department in this case, or any department, if there's some additional charges.
Des Moines City Manager says when there are problems with billing, they're addressed.
The broad gamut of things they look at very closely.
So they'll question something like this?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they do.
And is there documentation for that?
Yeah, again, we talked about that. Probably not.
Because the city manager insists, his office knows what it's doing with your tax dollars, and it doesn't need to be documented. There's no documentation to say that they're going through each one of these individually, is my point.
Well, my question is, why would there be?
$541 for a battery? I'd be questioning it.
And who says they didn't?
Well, there's nothing to say they did or didn't. That's the point.
We don't set up systems for media to come in and review them. I mean, that's not what it's for.
Aaron Brilbeck, Channel 13 News. Beer cans marked the spot where 25-year-old Leighton Fitz died after he was shot by police. Officers say he came out this door with a gun in one hand, so they were forced to shoot him. Take a look at the cell phone video. It shows state troopers and Iowa Falls police opening fire on Fitz back on April 17th, killing him. Police say Fitz never fired a shot at them, but take a closer look at this video again. You can see rounds hitting near the officer's feet, and this video shows where rounds struck the building behind state troopers. If Fitz didn't fire any rounds and there weren't any other shooters, what you're seeing in this video is cops shooting at cops, missing each other by, in some cases, just inches. Andrew Bonine shot the cell phone video and saw Fitz get gunned down.
He was like this because I know he threw his cell phone at the police, and he had his hands in like this, and he was digging for something, I think, and the police said, pull your hands out, so he goes like this. And his hands get up right about here, and then they start shooting him.
According to the Attorney General's office, there were 3 officers positioned near this pickup truck, 6 across the street from Fitz, and another 4 behind the home, and witnesses say on the stairs between the home and the garage. So when police opened fire, they were essentially shooting at each other, with Fitz caught in the middle.
Well, you could have cops shooting other cops. So in that case, I saw a couple rounds that were near hits. So I mean, they're lucky. They're lucky to be alive.
Fox says when state police noticed other officers coming up the stairs, they should have spread out so there was no chance of officers hitting officers.
That's what your main goal is safety. You have to know your target and what is beyond it. If you don't, it all goes out the window.
Fox says the number of shots fired by police is also disturbing. He's guessing 40 to 50 rounds. Now, when we slow down this video, you can see Fitz is hit and falls to the ground. But police continue firing a full 6 seconds after Fitz is down. Family members tell us Fitz was struck 17 times.
After they shot him, the cops were running around. I mean, they were high-fiving each other, hugging each other, congratulating. It was like a party.
Bradley Mayland is Fitz's stepbrother. He has the keychain that Fitz had in his pocket when he was shot. It has at least 3 bullet holes in it.
He was on the ground when they were still shooting on him. That doesn't make sense to me. He's on the ground. Why are you still firing? If this ain't a video game, they can just, hey, we can unload all our weapons on this. We finally get a situation to unload all of our weapons. It just doesn't make sense that, why does it have to be my brother that's laying there on the cold concrete?
Take a look at this. This is security video taken inside Blakesburg City Hall, showing Police Chief Bob Lewis pointing a gun toward a city councilman. Look again. Another city council member touches the chief's arm while he is leaning on the window. Then he draws his gun and points it toward a city councilman who is behind a thin door.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was stupid. Whether he knew somebody was on the other side of the door, I feel that he probably did.
Now, the police chief did not respond to our request for a comment, but he tells city council he was just testing out his holster to see how fast he could draw his gun if he had to.
It just doesn't seem to me that that's what you would do. He could have done it anyplace else, but you don't point it at someone.
And that's not all. The security video was taped back in April, but Chief Lewis was reprimanded about it during this week's city council meeting. So he drew his loaded weapon again during the crowded meeting to show city council a round was not chambered.
He took the clip out and laid it on the bench there, which I appreciate him doing that, but There are some people that were really concerned about that. Should it have been done? Probably that wasn't the best thing to do.
The mayor says Chief Lewis should be punished. He's just not sure how yet.
I don't want to ruin a person's career. I just don't know. It's just so tricky. And I consider Bob a friend, but at the same time, I got to look out for the community.